Virtual summits are the most powerful online marketing tool available to grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and create an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. If you are ready to take your summit to the next level, then tune into the Virtual Summit Podcast with Dr. Mark T. Wade.
Hi, I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade, founder of Virtual Summit Software and creator of the One Day Summit Formula. And I'm on a mission to help you, the summit host, get your summit out to the world in a powerful and impactful way. So let's get started. Thinking about summit sponsors got you stuck in analysis paralysis? Fear not, because after this episode, you're going to be the sponsor expert. From how to find them, what to charge them, what to offer them. Get ready, because your summit just got a whole lot more awesome. Hey, I'm Dr. Mark T. Wade here, founder of Virtual Summit Software, creator of the One Day Summit, and your host here on the Virtual Summit Podcast. Now, I'm super excited about today's episode. Before we jump into that, I want to remind you all of the things I'm going to be talking about are over on the show notes at podcast.virtualsummits.com/054. Additionally, I highly recommend you check out our resources area where we've got a bunch of free resources on getting started with your summit, whether it's a one-day summit, a multi-day summit, you're looking to improve your interview skills and beyond. You can find all the resources over at virtualsummits.com. So let's get started. When it comes to a virtual summit, there's always a looming thought in the back of most summit host minds. What about sponsors? Should I have sponsors on my summit? How do I get sponsors? What do I charge them? What do I offer them? All great questions, and all things we'll cover in this episode. Now, since most of us are not professional event planners and don't regularly negotiate sponsorship sales and arrangements, this might seem a little daunting or even downright scary. Now, here's the good news. You don't have to have sponsors. Yeah, you heard that correctly. You don't have to include sponsors on your summit. It's totally optional. So if trying to recruit sponsors has you sitting there with a little analysis paralysis, then just say, screw it, and move forward with your summit without them. Trust me, there are plenty more important aspects to worry about. First, being your summit messaging and topic. The next being the structure and quality of your summit interviews. And the last being your post-summit profit strategy. I'd highly recommend, if you don't have any interview training, you take a look at some of our free or paid trainings to ensure you interview with impact. So, why have sponsors? There's a couple real reasons to include sponsors in your summit. There are also a variety of options when deciding on how to structure it as well. Most common reasons to have paid sponsors is to cover any overhead of the summit, such as team members, prizes, bonuses, or incentives for any competitions you might be running. Most commonly, I use paid sponsors to cover any paid advertising we're running. The more money from sponsors, the more advertising we can run. I try to keep my summits 100% self-liquidating offer, meaning I'm generating an audience 100% for free. If I don't have sponsors, then I'm probably going to be limiting my ad spend. Remember, virtual summits are not your monetization strategy, even though you'll make money with them. They are your relationship building and audience generating strategy. Monetization comes in the post-summit profit strategy. The next reason to have sponsors is to give someone a favor, meaning you have a person, company, or organization that has been good to you and you want to give them a kind gesture back. Giving them a free sponsorship spot is definitely a kind way to say thank you or show a kind gesture. I most commonly will do this if I've decided I'm not going after paid sponsors. For example, if I'm limited on time or the main goal of the summit is for other reasons than typical, or if the main goal of the summit is to set up an ever summit strategy after the summit ends, in those cases, I'll reach out to the people who have been good to me and offer them a free sponsorship spot. Trust me, you will definitely be on their good side. After that, usually a great reciprocal opportunity later on, even though that's not the focus. Sometimes in this category, I will use an agreed cross promotion, meaning if I have a partner I'm working with and I want them to promote something for me, I can offer them a free sponsorship spot on one of my summits. It's a great negotiation tool when trying to create win-wins with current partners you're already working with. Lastly, for sponsors, I will offer a free sponsor opportunity as a reason or opportunity to build a strategic partnership with someone or some company that I want to build some type of collaborative relationship with. You know that saying, if you want something, always start by giving something first? Okay, maybe I just made that saying up, but it's a good one and it should be an official saying. So maybe there's a person or a company that you think would be a great partnership to have with your business. No better way to get on someone's radar than to reach out and offer them something of real value with no strings attached.
Virtual Summit's software makes hosting a summit easier than ever. The only software in the world designed specifically for hosting a summit lets you set up a summit in a matter of hours with no tech skill or team needed. You can try out the Virtual Summit's software free at virtualsummits.com. But hurry, this is a limited offer.
Now, the last reason I would use a sponsor is for self or cross promotion. By this, I mean I will include my own company as one of the sponsors, so there's visibility for that company. Most often, I will put one of my other companies or even sometimes one of my products or programs on as a sponsor, even though they aren't necessarily specific to that summit. The reason's simple: visibility. It's your platform. Why not show a little love to your other companies or programs you have? It's free publicity, especially if you aren't planning on reaching out to any official sponsors. Remember, it's your game. You can play it any way you want to. As I always say, creativity is key. If you can think of other reasons for a sponsor, even better. These are the primary reasons I use a sponsor. Now, many of our summits won't have many sponsors on them. The only time I really worry or focus on official paid sponsors is on our bigger or our primary summits. Now, we run around 2 to 4 multi-day summits and 4 to 8 one-day summits every year. Out of all of those, I may focus on sponsors for 2 to 3 of them. The rest I use as gifts, strategic partnerships, building, or cross-promotion. So don't feel bad if you don't want to focus on sponsors, or if it's stressing you out a bit. You have my permission to dump that worry in the trash and get back to rocking out the rest of your summit. So, who should I have as a sponsor? This is an important point to consider. I've released you from the guilt and shame and self-demoralization of not having any sponsors, right? So now you're free to choose wisely and correctly. First and foremost, you need to remember that you are the protector and champion of your audience. The whole point of the summit is to build a relationship with this new tribe. With that being the case, you can never and should never take a sponsorship from a company or person that, 1, you don't like or trust, or 2, know about or have any reference about. The quickest way to break that trust of your audience is to recommend a crappy or shady person or product. That will crush their trust. Meaning, you recommend some course platform, so your audience signs up for it, and that platform crashes, closes, or otherwise doesn't deliver. They're going to be mad at that platform, of course, but who do you think they're going to blame? You. That's who. So it's super simple to avoid that. You only recommend or allow sponsors from companies you know, like, or trust, which then makes it easier to understand who you should have as a sponsor. I always recommend reaching out to the companies whose services or products you are currently using and enjoying. 1, it's an easy sell to your audience because you know and trust that company. 2nd, you can give real life examples of how you use it and like it. Now, what about people? So should you decide between a company or a person? Personally, I prefer to have companies on my summits as sponsors. Firstly, they're more commonly associated with this type of agreement and will be easier to deal with in the sense of expectations. Secondly, they're usually looking for these opportunities, so it's an easier sell and more of them available. Lastly, you typically will have opportunities to set up an affiliate arrangement with that company, which can lead to ongoing opportunities and recurring revenue, which is always a plus. I'm not saying don't use a person or a small company. I'm just saying that when it comes to dividing my time and energy, I'm going to lead towards the companies that I currently use their services. Sometimes a smaller company or person will have very specific expectations as far as their return on investment and will expect to see immediate returns from the summit, which typically won't happen, depending on the price points. Of course, the returns will be there over time and way more than sponsoring a physical conference. It's just that there's more use to putting money into ads and seeing an immediate type of conversation for that small person or small company. Also, it's usually easier to sell to a company because they're typically sponsoring physical conferences, which are not cheap. So not only is it a good opportunity, and they will get far more exposure from your summit than a 200-person conference, they also don't have to pay for flights and hours for their team, shipping of all their booth equipment, etc.
Be sure to check out the speaker management tool inside your virtual summit software, which lets you quickly and easily recruit and manage your speakers on your virtual summit, literally eliminating hundreds of hours of work. Get more information at virtualsummits.com.
Also, with that being said, if you're going for a paid sponsor, be prepared to hop on a phone call. Most companies who are going to sponsor your summit are used to having several back and forth calls with the conference organizer. It's also in your favor to hop on a call because you can explain the concept of a virtual summit easier and help them see the true and real value of sponsoring you. Matter of fact, your initial email really should be more about trying to set up a phone call with them than discussing an opportunity. Psychologically, it's much, much easier to say no to an email than it is on a phone. So it's in your advantage to hop on a call, explain the details, and build some rapport. Now, how do I present the different options? The easiest way is to have a document or brochure with all the different levels and the prices. That way they can easily see what they're going to get and what it's going to cost. Typically, to create a bit of scarcity on the upper levels, you would put a limited number of spots available. This means if they want one of those spots, they better act quickly before they get snatched up. If you want to want it to look even more professional, then you can put those levels on a web page. You can include a demo video of you walking through those options and why they're great options on how your summit is going to be worth the investment and is going to generate a return on investment. Also, that way, when you hop on the call with them, they can be looking at it as you walk them through it or talk them through it. Now, a little ninja trick is to have the prices be a little bit higher than you actually want. Then when you're talking with a sponsor, you can tell them, and if you decide to take action before next Wednesday, we'll knock 10% off the current sponsorship price. This is another way to generate some urgency and get them to pull that trigger so they don't miss out on this great opportunity. Now, how many sponsors should I have? There's no right or wrong number with this. The only main thing to consider is the more you have, the less urgency there is for the sponsors to sign up right away. Also, you have to make sure you can deliver enough value to all of them. If you have the same price for all of them, you'll most likely have a smaller number of sponsors than if you have tiers. Be sure to keep the price a little higher in that case because you'll have limited spaces. In that situation, most commonly, it's between 3 to 5 sponsors. In the tiered scenario, it's most common to have one top tier, 2 to 3 in the next tier, and then 3 to 10 in the bottom tier. Of course, you can add additional tiers and then just adjust accordingly. Overall, most summits have around 3 to 5 sponsors. That could just be because it's difficult to get more than that, especially if you don't already have a lot of connections. So how do I charge them? This is a tough question because there's no straightforward answer. It's also depends on what they're going to get out of it. So what you charge them, how much. We'll talk about what you can offer in a minute, but for now, let's focus purely on trying to decide how to determine a specific amount. If this is your first summit and you have no clue what the outcome is going to be, it's even more difficult. You don't want to charge your sponsors $10,000 and then have less than 1,000 people on your summit. Although they regularly pay that for conferences with less than 1,000 people at them. Now, if you've been running summits for a while and you know you're going to have 10,000, 25,000 people on your summit, then boom, 10,000, charge away, especially if you do a few of the things we'll talk about next. Now, I know a summit, this is great. I know a summit host in the crypto space that charged the top sponsor $35,000. Yeah, you heard that correctly too. So don't get too cheap over there. The way I would typically get my range sorted is I would look at a small physical conference with around 500 attendees and see what the price range is for sponsorship there. Typically, you're looking at around $5,000 to $25,000. I would then usually go with the smallest or medium price points as my sponsorship levels. Most commonly, my sponsorship levels are $2,000, $5,000, and $7,500. Second most common is $500, $1,000, and $4,000. but those are most often on one-day summits or smaller summits. I will also always have a unicorn sponsorship level, meaning I have one level that's priced so high that I don't expect anyone to actually take it. But if they do, it essentially sets my whole summit up for success instantly. Most common price points for my unicorn level are $15,000 and $25,000. Again, I don't get upset if no one takes that level. I'm not expecting anyone to take it, but I'm definitely going to shoot for the moon just in case. So check a few conferences in your space that are small to medium conferences and see their typical sponsorship prices. Easiest way to see those is just apply to be a sponsor. You'll get a brochure with the information plus the prices. Also, ninja tip is to see what they are offering to those sponsors. That lets you know what your sponsors are used to getting or seeing. If you can mimic or provide relatively the same value or exceed that, then you're going to be looking good to your sponsors. Now, what do I offer them? As I just mentioned, an easy way is to look at what they're getting from a physical conference and try to mimic that to some degree. After that, here are the most common items that we offer to our sponsors. Remember, creativity is key. Don't just do what I do. Take it, make it better, be creative. Also, as far as who gets what, you start off by deciding what you're willing to give away and offer. Okay, make a list of that. Then your top sponsors would get the most or all of the items you decided. The lower sponsors gets less items. The lowest sponsor gets the least. Now, a quick note here. Having tiered sponsors is the most common way we do it. It gives options for a few smaller companies to jump in and test it out with the smaller tier. However, just as commonly, I see some successful summits just have one single price point for all sponsors, and they all get the same thing. Only problem with this is it limits the amount of sponsors you'll be able to have because you can't give away the house to 20 sponsors. We'll go deeper on this in a moment. When deciding what to offer, try to think of it from the perspective of your sponsor. What's most valuable to them? Obviously, they want sales. That would be awesome, but most commonly, what do they need to make sales? They need leads or prospects. To get leads or prospects, they need exposure or access. So what are the different ways we can offer them this? So logos on the website, in the email, on the videos are all normal options, but you're not going to get $5,000 out of someone for that.
With the Ever Summit feature inside the Virtual Summit software, you can rerun your summit as if it were live, ongoing forever with one click of a button. This now lets you continue to use your summit forever, bringing in qualified and engaged leads every month into your business. Get more information at virtualsummit.com.
Here are a bunch of ideas you can pick and choose from on what you want to offer. Solo emails during the summit to the group with a discount or an offer or a coupon code. They get one or more teaching sessions on the summit. If you do a live session, let them come on and give a plug or a demo. Sponsored posts in the Facebook group. After the summit is where the most options are waiting. Let them do a sponsored or co-written blog post, a video on your YouTube channel, a few sponsored posts on your Facebook page, Twitter, or Instagram. You can give them solo promo emails to the new list. You can hold a partner webinar or do a Facebook Live to your group with them. You can give them access to the list. Not recommended, but I know some hosts who do this and have a lot of success. I like to allow them to either run ads on our ads manager account that they pay for, or to share our custom audience from the summit with the partners. Now, that's a pretty amazing opportunity right there. If you create a custom audience based on anyone who sees any of the ads or goes to the landing page, you could have anywhere from 3 to 10 times the amount of people than just the list that opted in for the summit. If you share that with them, they have up to 6 months to run ads to that audience, which is huge, huge benefit. You could also make an agreement to promote your sponsors throughout the year or even just a defined amount of months after the summit. I mean, honestly, I would pay $5,000 to be able to send out a few emails or run a partner webinar to a newly engaged list. Some other creative ideas are you can create a summit playbook with the sponsors throughout it. You can let the sponsors give away a bonus or a freebie for everyone on the summit that will build their email list, since the attendee has to opt in to get the freebie. You can place your sponsor's product in the session videos for product placement. You can run competitions where the audience has to visit each sponsor page to get a special piece of information from their site to be entered into a raffle. You can have a specific raffle held by your sponsors. I've even had a couple summit hosts include the name of the summit, like the name of the summit of with the sponsor's name in it. So that was actually the one that collected $35,000 from a sponsor. It had their name on all the promotional materials, the logo, essentially the name of the summit had the sponsor's name in it. So I thought that was a genius idea. Again, there's so many options to give value to your sponsors. You just have to think creatively, think of it from the perspective of the sponsor and how you can deliver the most value to them. It doesn't matter if you only have a few thousand people on your list. If you provide value like that, then that is more than they ever get at a physical conference. Also, keep in mind, you will set up an affiliate arrangement with that sponsor as well, meaning ongoing promotion of that sponsor generates sales, but it also generates affiliate commission for you. So that's a huge plus for you as well. Along these same lines of the value you're offering, a few of the selling points that you can discuss with the sponsors. In addition to what you're going to be providing them, you need to help them understand and see the value of actually sponsoring a virtual summit. The biggest and most obvious is the save-in costs and expenses by not having to fly their team out to a physical conference. They don't have to pay their hourly payment for the team. They don't have the food costs. They don't have the hotel costs, all non-existent on a virtual summit. They also get to actually see where their money's going, meaning in a physical conference, the only thing they can judge is how many sales did they make there at their booth. With a summit, they can track views, leads, ongoing sales. It's easier to track their ROI, plus they get to know they are specifically hitting their target demographic. Wow. We've just spent a decent amount of time talking about sponsors. That's actually some pretty powerful information right there. I'd recommend maybe going back and re-listening to it, writing some of this stuff down for your next summit. If you implement even a fraction of that into your summit, you could be looking at a completely positive ROI before the summit ever starts. Just remember, it's much more effective to focus on making your summit an amazing summit than spending all the time worrying about sponsors. You have my permission to completely skip the sponsors if it has you sitting there in analysis paralysis. With that said, if you can grab a few sponsors for your summit, you will reap the rewards of some ad spend and increased partner relations. Don't forget to head over to the resources area over at virtualsummits.com. Check out the free resources on hosting a successful summit. I highly, highly, highly recommend you check out our training on increasing your interview skills. It's one of the most important aspects of your summit, yet most hosts have never done any training to increase their interview skills or to even map out their sessions in a way to create an engaging and entertaining summit. So that will wrap it up for me. Just remember, your message matters and you have an impact to make in the world. I'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks for listening. Now don't forget to subscribe and leave a 5-star review on the Virtual Summit podcast. Head over to the show notes to check out all the links and resources from this episode, and be sure to grab your free trial of the Virtual Summit software.
Now, I want to end this episode by saying to all the summit hosts listening right now, I believe in you, and you can do this. Summits are by far one of the most powerful ways to quickly grow your list, launch your platform, make more money, and most importantly, make an impact in the world, even if you're just getting started. So don't get caught up in analysis paralysis, because the world needs to hear your message, and there are people who are waiting for you to help them. So just get started, because imperfect action is always better than no action. Thank you, and see you on the next episode.